We'll wait. I'll wait for a few more people to join. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let me get started. So the attendance is a bit thin. I wanted to discuss where we are in the course and the rest of the schedule and some about what the assignments and things are. But since the attendance today seems to be slimmer than usual, let me defer the discussion of the schedule and so on until tomorrow. And I'll go through this topic that I wanted to cover anyway. So what? Okay, but let me just yes, just to give you an idea where we are. Okay, this I can go through again with the people. Okay, so this is where we are. Okay, right now. So you can see my screen, correct, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have covered CTL, LTL, CTL star. We've also covered CTL model checking, the explicit state variety of model checking. We started talking about symbolic model checking of CTL formulas. There, last time I mentioned that the CTL model checking can be viewed as computing fixed points of suitably defined functions over sets of states. Or we also call them predicate transformers. Since in symbolic model checking, symbolic model checking algorithms manipulate sets of states as characterized by formulas. So it is convenient to represent or to define the algorithms for model checking CTL formulas as fixed points of predicate transformers. So today I'm going to take an aside and cover a little bit of the theory of fixed points. This is a little bit of logic to you. How many of you have are familiar with partial orders, specifically complete partial orders? You guys familiar with that? Have you seen that in your discrete math or logic course?
Yes.
Okay, so that is a yes for all of you. So there are only four people today, or even only 3 people, I think. Someone joined. Okay. Okay, so let me go through this a bit slowly then. But yeah, since everyone is familiar with the complete, partial orders, so these, but yet, I mean, let me go through some background. So this is roughly the plan. So we'll talk about fixed point theory and its application to CTL model checking. I'll finish up CTL model, symbolic model checking of CTL next time. And I'll start talking about BDDs, binary decision diagrams, because that's one convenient way of implementing these fixed point manipulations. Complete BDDs for the following class. And I plan to have the assignment out pretty soon, written assignment out, and then cover in this order. So as you can see, I mean, mostly, I mean, I'll be covering symbolic model checking, different versions of symbolic model checking before and get into automata theoretic model checking only later, and only a few classes later. How many of you here, excuse me, there are I'm de-emphasizing this in this course. I'm covering more symbolic model checking and less of automata theoretic based model checking, because there is a lot of automata based theoretic verification, several courses offered here, and you will get an exposure. And if you end up taking any one of those courses, you will certainly get exposed to Buki automaton and the LTL model checking from an automata theoretic point of view. But for completeness sake, I will have a few classes towards the end to cover that. But predominantly, I will be covering various variations of symbolic model checking algorithms. So for all these techniques, it's somewhat important to understand the fixed point theory. Okay? And that's why I'm taking some time to cover that. Okay, so let me. Okay, so as I said, it's a fixed point theory of predicate transformers. So these predicate transformers are defined over our structure that we are interested in is complete partial order over sets of states. Okay, so all model checking algorithms, they accumulate. They manipulate sets of states, specifically represented or characterized as formulas. And therefore, what we are interested in is these predicate transformers. They map sets of states to sets of states, or formulas representing a set of states to. So these functions are over the power set domain. And they are defined over complete partial order. So complete partial order is something where the elements of which are sets of states, ordered as per the partial order here is the set inclusion that we'll be using as the partial order. And a complete partial order has a bottom, which is represents the empty set, which symbolically is represented by false, the formula false, and the top operator is the universe of set of all states, the universe of and that is represented as true. So as you know, complete partial order with a top and a bottom element is guaranteed. Every subset here, set of elements, is guaranteed to have a greatest lower bound, the upper bound, the greatest lower bound, and the least upper bound. Okay, the LUB and the GLB. So the greatest lower bound is defined by the intersection operator, and the least upper bound is defined by the union operator. So, the predicate transformer is is represented as tau, and in this case, it denotes the So we assume that tau is monotonic, as they will be used as what we are interested in is through these model checking algorithms. We're interested in accumulating the states, okay, accumulating states or dissipating states during model checking. So, and we assume that it's monotonic, and then because, as I said, so we kind of accumulate as we do reachability analysis. We accumulate states, or we can also kind of do it by removing states. So in either case, we assume that tau, that the tau that we are interested in is assumed to be monotonic, which means it satisfies this property. If x set x is less than or equal to y, then tau x is also less than or equal to tau of y. Okay. So so in this complete partial order, so this one just denotes the inclusion. So the undirected edges here in this, they denote the inclusion relationship between the elements of the CPO. And the directed edges, they denote the application of tau on the on sets. Okay. So yes, if it's monotonic, you usually see these kinds of chains going up or down. In this case, all the chains are going up and they're saturating. Okay. That depends on the definition of tau. So if it is monotonic, you usually have this kind of picture. Okay, so where you have a mixture of ascending and descending chains in your and these application of taus are usually so they form these ascending and descending chains in the lattice, the complete partial order. Of course, you can have, so this here on the right side, I hope it's not too small. I mean, I hope you can read it, is a case indicates cases where tau is not monotonic. Okay, if it's not monotonic, then you will have things like this. Okay, so these kinds of where you have arrows going sideways like this, they don't satisfy the monotonicity requirement. So all these things are not monotonic here. So the cases, the kind of chains that you get when tau is not monotonic is shown on the right side. Okay. So the second thing, can anyone tell me why the tau for the second one where I have the cursor is not monotonic? Why that is not a case where tau is, this one is very clear, the first one, correct? Because 1 and 2 are, so see here, like I've shown here, tau is less than or equal to the set 1. And tau 2 goes here, but however, tau applied to bottom is not less than or equal to tau of 1, correct? Because 1 and 2 are incompatible. And why is the second example of tau in the second picture not monotonic? What violates the monotonicity property there, Tom?
Empty set is a subset of 2, but tau of 1 is not same as tau of 1 is not incomparable to tau of 2.
Yeah, the same thing here. Okay, so this is a case you can see monotonicity. The reason monotonicity, because when you have such things, monotonicity is required to guarantee existence of fixed points. Okay, fixed points are where the chain saturates like this. Okay, there are self loops. But if you have these kinds of things, non-monotonicity, either these fixed points may not even exist. So that's the case for the left side here, the first picture. Or even if they exist, they may not be unique. Okay, so you're right. That's the reason. So that's the reason having monotonicity is a requirement, is needed for guaranteeing these fixed points. Okay, so all these are violative cases where the predicate transformer is not monotonic. Okay. So as you can see, the chains can be either ascending or descending. Okay, or it can be, it can stay at the same level as well, because monotonicity is defined with inclusive, with equality included there. Okay. Yeah, as I just now mentioned, monotonicity of tau guarantees that greatest and least fixed points exist, and they are unique. Okay. And how are these latest and the least and greatest fixed points defined? It's as follows. Okay, so you can see that there is, this is how they are defined. Okay, so if so maybe I have the no, not here. So maybe I will, yes.
Sir,
Yeah.
let me check my understanding of least and greatest.
Mm-hmm.
So least means that every other fixed point has a least fixed point as a subset, right?
Yeah,
Suppose
that is,
if
yes.
set is A, then every set which is a fixed point of tau has A as a subset.
Correct. But they are, that is, yes. By this, the way, this definition, intuitively, that's what it is. Okay. But, it is formally defined in this way. Okay. As the greatest lower bound of all what are called prefix points. Okay, so first, or they get the least fixed point, LFP, is defined as the least upper bound of post-fixed points. What you said is correct. So let me get to this thing here. Correct. Okay. So these are, so there are, okay. So here, so all set of all z such that z is greater than or equal to tau z, they are called prefix points. Okay. And you can define them. So this is all z such that z is greater than or equal to tau z. Okay. So, or as shown in this this picture, so for example, all these in this structure here, so all the post-fixed points are the things that appear, such that z is greater than or equal to tau of z. So, as you go up the chain, so bottom two, top 1, 2, and 2, 3, they're all post-fixed points. Okay. And you take the, I'm sorry, they are the prefix points, and these are post-fixed points. What I show as, this should be pre, okay? tau pre. These are prefix points. So they're formally defined as the greatest lower bound of prefix points. Okay? That is set of all z such that z is greater than or equal to tau z. Similarly, post-fix points are the set of all z in the lattice such that z is less than or equal to tau z. And this is defined as the least upper bound of post-fix points. Okay? So this picture gives you the thing. So you have all the prefix points here, and you have all the post-fix points. And the GLB is defined as the greatest lower bound of the set of all prefix points. So this is the greatest fix points. And if you look at all the post-fix points, the least upper bound, okay, of that is the least fixed point. So the fixed points themselves, so all the fixed points, they appear here at the in the intersection, okay, of when tau is monotonic. So you collect all the prefix points and you find the greatest lower bound of those things, and that forms the greatest fixed point. And here this forms the least fixed point. As you can see here, so this is the greatest fixed point. Top in this case is the greatest. So there are three fixed points here: bottom, 2, the set 2, and top. Okay, and that itself. So they are the three fixed points that appear in this intersection. So this is the union. When you take the union of all these prefix points, you get the greatest fixed points, and that's how it is formally defined. And when tau is monotonic, so the fact that it is defined as a GLB or LUB itself, because it's a CPO that guarantees the existence of greatest and least fixed points, and they're also unique, and that's the property. And that they are unique is what was proved by it's called the Tarski-Naster fixed point theorem. Okay, and here, although my illustrations I'm showing only finite states, they are true of infinite states, even when the partial order is infinite. Okay, so tau is as long as tau is monotonic, then the least and the greatest fixed points are unique, and they're guaranteed to exist. And the fixed points themselves form a complete lattice. The greatest fixed point is the greatest lower bound of the should I say least upper bound, and this is the greatest lower bound. This is the least upper bound. Maybe I have this thing wrong. Yes. Yeah, this should be the least upper bound, and this should be the greatest lower bound. Okay. It's the greatest lower bound, LU, greatest lower bound. Correct. It's the greatest lower bound, and this, yes, and this should be the least upper bound. Okay, I'm sorry. So this, I have it as reversed. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, now going back to your question. So what was the question you raised or made a comment? Is that, is that clearer now here? Or yes, you're right that among all the fixed points, the greatest fixed point is the the one that is the largest of the lot, and the least fixed point is the smallest fixed point of that. And when tau is monotonic, they are unique and they are guaranteed to exist. Okay. So any questions? Now, yeah, today I will, yes. So I had a slide of where, where there was proof. The proof is of the Tarski's theorem is there in the book. And I will, that particular slide is somehow missing. So I will get to that later on. It will be interesting to go through that proof. It's fairly simple proof, but and which applies to infinite state as well, and that proves the thing. But we'll go through that in the next class. But now I want to introduce another theorem, which, see, this one just defines and proves the existence of these fixed points, defines them as greatest and lower bound and least upper bound of these prefix and postfix points, which are defined as by this. And so the entire thing is done, proven on sets. But there is another version of this theorem that, not another version, but a different way of looking at it, that gives you a hint to how you can compute them. Okay, so that is kind of even more interesting for our purposes. We're trying to define model checking, algorithms and design device model checking algorithms. So let's look at that theorem, which is sometimes attributed to Tarski, but some say that it was actually fully formulated and proof given in this version by a logician cleaning. Okay, and this says, first it says that you can, it depends on another property of tau being continuous. Okay. Yeah. Correct. Yes. No. Okay. I'll first show this thing, and then I will go back to that thing. What basically the Clean theorem says is, yes, this is the point where you have all the fixed points, and this is the greatest fixed point at the top, and this is the least fixed point. And Tarski's definition is that it is the the least upper bound of all these prefix points, and he defined the LFP as the greatest lower bound of the the postfix points. But Clean theorem says that there is a way to get to that by following a particular chain, okay, of repeated applications of tau, starting from top to get to greatest fixed points, or starting from bottom falls to get to the least fixed point. Okay, and so this makes the search for the least and greatest fixed points quite directed and goal directed, and therefore they are good to have as a basis for designing algorithms in general. And here in model checking, because they are going to be defined, the sets of states satisfying a particular formula, state formulas, they are going to be defined as fixed points of those operators. So this gives us a way of implementing those algorithms. So that And what Tarski's theorem basically says is that if, in addition to tau being monotonic, if it is continuous, then you can compute it in this fashion, as a limit of a descending chain, or the greatest fixed point as, or the limit of an ascending chain to compute the least fixed point. So this is true. I mean, requires that tau satisfy an additional condition called continuous. So what is that? And that's what is, I define here. Okay. Basically, tau is said to be continuous. I mean, tau is said to be continuous if it preserves limits of chains, okay? Ascending or descending chain. So what it says is that it is, continuous for ascending chains. This is an ascending chain. If for every ascending chain, x1 less than or equal to x2, etc., tau of the limit of that chain M is equal to the limit of the chain that you get by applying tau to every element in the ascending chain. So that's one. And this is called, it's continuous for descending chains if the same thing applies for descending chains. So here I've shown so intuitively, this is really ensures that tau preserves the limits, that if you have an ascending chain, and since and tau is monotonic, and therefore, so for every ascending chain in a complete partial order, limit is guaranteed to exist, correct? And that is just the, for an ascending chain, the limit is you get by taking the union, okay? That is the least upper bound, okay, of this chain. Because if it's a chain, then you just the union itself of all these sets is the limit. So what this continuity requirement guarantees is that this, okay, so you can map each elements, which themselves will then form a chain because tau is monotonic, and then the limit of this tau chain will be the one element that will be mapped by tau on the limit of the chain n. Okay? Now, as you can see for if the partial order is finite, then monotonicity automatically guarantees this. Okay, you can actually prove by induction on this, because every ascending chain or descending chain eventually will have to repeat, and therefore at that point it so this will be it'll automatically be a limit preserving. So this is required as an additional condition for the case where the partial order, the lattice, is infinite. Okay, so that's when you will require this as an additional condition. Because if the chains are infinite, then tau can behave weirdly, and not preserve the limit. So this is, since all this theory is applicable, is developed in such a way that it is applicable for infinite partial, infinite CPOs, and therefore it is applicable to model checking algorithms on infinite state transition systems as well. And that's why I'm presenting this as over infinite partial orders. Okay. Yeah, so that's what this thing says. So if what Kleene-Tarski's theorem says is that an ascending Kleene chain, yeah, this is an yeah, this is a Kleene chain. Kleene chain is something where you start from false and you repeatedly apply taus, larger and larger number of times. Okay, and this is guaranteed to form a chain. Why? Because tau is monotonic. Okay, so since tau is monotonic, this particular chain that you get this particular set of repeated applications of tau to a bottom forms an ascending chain. Okay. And similarly, and what Kleene theorem says is that additionally, if tau is continuous, then the least fixed point, of tau is here I think I have it wrong. This should be, this correct. This is the least upper bound of this chain. Okay, correct. This is the least upper bound of this chain. Is the least fixed point of all. Whereas Tarski's theorem was in terms of the least upper bound of these prefix points. This is saying that I can compute it by iterating from false. Okay, so that's the important difference here. Okay, similarly, I can compute the greatest fixed point as the limit of a descending Kleene chain. Okay, what is a descending Kleene chain? It starts with true, and it consists of applying tau repeatedly. Okay, and that is guaranteed to form a descending chain because tau is monotonic, and the greatest fixed points is the greatest lower bound of this chain. Okay. Okay, this theorem, I will present a proof of, because this is the one that forms the basis for all fixed point model checking algorithms, specifically the CTL model checking algorithm. So this is, so as we saw, this is, this proof proves the case for least fixed point computation as a limit of the ascending Kleene chain. And the proof for the greatest fixed point follows similarly. Actually, the book gives the proof for greatest fixed point. You can go through that as well. So I thought it would be interesting to present the dual of that for the least. Okay. So we have an ascending Kleene chain. So let M be the set of elements of that contain the repeated applications of tau. Okay. Yeah. And what we have to prove is that the least fixed point is the least upper bound of this set. And let M be the least upper bound. The least upper bound of chains are just the union of all the elements in the chain. Okay. So what we have to show is that the least upper bound of this is the LFP, that is the least fixed point for tau. Okay? So there are two parts to the proof. First, you have to show that this least upper bound is indeed a fixed point for tau. That is, tau of m is equal to m. And then you have to show that m is smaller than every other fixed points for tau. Yeah, so this is what, earlier comment, I don't know who, yeah, so that you made, okay? So when you do it as ascending and descending chain, you can have this proof. Tarski's theorem was in terms of, in terms of sets of greatest, of prefix points and postfix points, and therefore the proof of that is slightly different. It's very short. We will, for completeness sake, I will present it, next time, but it's a little bit mysterious. Whereas here we are proving that that it is the least fixed point for a particular way of computing that. Okay. So any questions so far? Yeah. So since tau is U continuous, by definition here we have tau of L, the least upper bound, the limit of m is the limit limit of the tau chain. Okay, so that is guaranteed by the fact that tau is continuous. And LUB of m is m, so which means that is tau of m is equal to LUB of tau of m, which for a chain, it is just a union of all the repeated tau applications. Okay. Okay, so note that the original m is the same as this tau m here that appears as the argument here, except that if you add the bottom element, if you add the bottom element to this tau of m, you get m. But the empty, since this limit is just the union of all these sets in tau of m, adding empty of the bottom element has no influence on the limit. Okay? Therefore, LUB of tau of m, which is equal to the union of tau of m, it is the same as LUB of m. Okay? Although m is different from this because it only has the false as the extra element, because this one has an additional tau in here. Therefore, but LUB of m is equal to m, and therefore hence tau of m is equal to m. So it is clear that it is a fixed point. Okay. And now for the second, that showing that it is the least fixed points, we have to show that m is smaller than every other fixed points for tau. Okay. This is shown by so it's shown by proving any element in M which forms a tau chain is smaller than any fixed point, any arbitrary fixed point of tau. Okay, so for every fixed point of tau, every element in this chain, we show that it is less than the fixed point. And since this is the union of all those things, so that will the fact that it is smaller than any k will follow. And this part is done by induction over I, the the number of repeated applications of tau in the ascending tau chain. So the base case is, you see, recall that, I've chosen any arbitrary fixed point here, okay? So the base case corresponds to tau of 0, which is equal to bottom. And since bottom is the least element, it is less than anything. In particular, it is less than or equal to k. The induction step is to assume tau of I of bottom is less than or equal to k. Assuming tau of I up to I, some I is less than or equal to k, we have to show one additional applications and still keep it less than or equal to k. And this one is guaranteed by monotonicity, okay? So only here you need, the first part needs the continuity property of tau. So this one, you could just use monotonicity. So since by induction hypothesis, tau to the power of I of bottom is less than or equal to k. So tau applied to both sides must be less than or equal to each other. And this reduces to tau I plus 1. And since k is a fixed point, I chose k to be some arbitrary fixed point, you get tau I plus 1 is less than or equal to k, because tau of k is equal to k, since k is a fixed point. And that's how you prove that. Okay, so is that convincing? Any questions? Okay. Now I'll come to applying so the important things for you to know is the need, okay, what is, why we will, so the predicate transformers, why we have it, that will become clear when I show the application. But for understanding the fixed point theory, the important things to understand is that it is, the predicate transformers are defined over a complete, lattice, okay, with top and bottom, with the inclusion as the partial order, and tau is has to be monotonic, and for existence of the fixed points, existence of greatest and least fixed points, and very importantly, the linear iteration can be used to compute the latest and greatest fixed points as limit of either in the case of least fixed point, as limit of an ascending tau chain, in the case of greatest fixed point, as a limit of descending tau chain. And the limits here of chains can be computed by just taking either the union in the case of least upper bounds and intersection in the case of greatest lower bounds for chains. Okay, and that's what gives rise to this what we used as we saw this framework of the algorithm. Okay, all right. So this is exactly doing cleaning iteration. Okay, so this computation of fixed points through cleaning iteration. Clean iteration is the iterating over the cleaning chain. Okay? So this is exactly doing that by repeated application of tau. Now, for finite state systems, it is kind of obvious, okay, that if tau is monotonic, either if it's a then this decreasing chain, you eventually stop. But the proof that I showed, the Tarski's theorem, Kleene theorem, is interesting because they also apply for infinite state systems, and they clearly show the existence of lots of different fixed points for tau. Okay, so this is a Kleene iteration over an ascending chain to compute least fixed points. Similarly, for greatest fixed points, you have Kleene iteration starting from the top, and you go down the chain to by repeated application of tau. Okay? Of course, in the case of infinite state systems, this algorithm is not always guaranteed to terminate, even though the least and the greatest fixed points exist. But the interesting thing is, for a lot of infinite state systems, the fixed points are, happen to be, it can still be terminating, and sometimes it's useful as long as the fixed points that you care about are limits of finite chains. Okay, there are lots of interesting situations where even though the domain might be infinite, the fixed points that you care about are fixed points of finite chains. Okay? Then they can be terminated. For infinite state systems, you could still use these things as partial, for partial checking of the algorithms. That's why the theory is interesting, especially interesting when you consider infinite systems. But even here, to tie all the, even for finite states is case, to tie all the algorithms and look at them as fixed points of appropriately defined predicate transformers is, is a nice way to understand those different algorithms, and that's why it's interesting. So I switched to this set of slides only to show this algorithm. That's all. So I'll go back. So now we get to applying the fixed point theory to CTL model checking. So recall how we defined CTL model checking. The checking is CTL formula phi. What you do, you compute these double square brackets represent the set of all states satisfying the formula phi. Okay? Then we compute that, the set of all states that satisfy a particular CTL formula, and check if the initial state is contained in that set by checking the validity of init implies phi. Sorry. So symbolic model checking of phi, then just so since we define this set phi as either a least fixed point or a greatest fixed point of a suitably defined predicate transformer for each CTL operator. And after that, we use, since once of appropriately defined tau monotonic, I should have added the adjective monotonic, that's important. Okay, suitably defined monotonic tau. Then once you have it to be monotonic, since we are dealing with only finite state systems, for that case, monotonicity also guarantees continuity. And therefore, you can use Kleene iteration as the basis for computing LFP and GFP of tau. And then we check that the initial set of states implies this least fixed point. So the least fixed point for us, in the theory that I just now said, we were defining it as mappings set of states. So I keep repeating, since a set of states can also be defined as a formula, these algorithms can also be considered as transforming formulas, where tau is viewed as a predicate transform. So they'll be producing formulas, okay, symbolic formulas as output, after which you can do this as a check, okay, using a satisfiability solver or appropriate tool. Okay, so the rest of the slides, I'll show for each CTL operator. Pick the universal set of operators, EX, AG. Sometimes it is also interesting in these cases to define it for all the operators. It's quite informative and educative to directly define them, although it's not required. So EX of P. So what here, of course, you don't need, it doesn't need to be expressed as a fixed point. So EX of P is pictorially, it is this set, okay? So EX of P is the set on the left side of this picture. P is, you want, EX of P is the set of all states whose set of all states such that at least one of its successors satisfies P. So as long as even one of its successor, the arrow here represents T, not tau, okay? Tau is collecting states, okay? Don't get used to tau. We will get to tau later on when we define a fixed point and use predicate transforms. But here, yeah. So this is the set on the left side. So that corresponds to this symbolic formula. So there exists an S prime, a post state, okay? So it is the set of all S such that its post state, one of its post state satisfies P. So TSS prime guarantees its S prime is a post state. It is the set of all states. Okay, these things are important for you to understand, because eventually when you define to do various things, it'll all be defined as, defining these formulas that correspond to how you understand the CTL formulas. Okay, is this clear? This is important, yeah? I would like to hear a yes. Yeah. Yeah. So this is actually like a pre-image. It is actually a pre-image, okay? You also saw in the last class image, so I will show that as a comparison, but if you're not computing images here, we are kind of computing image, but it's a pre-image, okay? So AX of P, it denotes this set of states, okay? Once again, it's a pre-image, so it's the set of all states such that every successor from that state has to, you're required to be inside P. It is just those states. So it cannot have these kinds of states where one goes into P, the other one goes out. So that is not in that. This would have been in EX of P. So that's why it can be defined directly with a universal quantifier for all S prime. TSS prime implies P of S prime. So in terms of existential quantifier, it can be expressed in this fashion using negation. So what you have on the left-hand side is the view as set of states. What you have in the right-hand side is the symbolic formula representing that. And what you have on the right-hand side is a Boolean function over S. Okay? S is the only free variable here. So it's a Boolean function. It's defined in terms, it's a quantified formula, but still it is technically a Boolean function. Okay? That's important for you to note. Yeah, so both EX of P and AX of P, they compute pre-images with some constraints. Image, just the image, under T is a forward image, okay? So here, that's why you quantify out the pre-state here, okay? So this is just the set of all successors of elements in a set A, okay? It's also expressed as existential quantification. So but this is a post image. Okay, that's the difference, that's all. So as we saw briefly last time, now with the background of fixed point theory and so on, you should get hopefully a better idea of why this cryptic thing, why it is a fixed point of this tau. So the tau, so it's when you have these operators, CTL operators, which require certain path constraints, that's when you have to do fixed point computation. So here tau of, the tau, this EU operator can be expressed as the fixed point, that is the set of states satisfying this can be expressed as the fixed point of this predicate transformer, tau of Z. If it takes F2, it has to include F2, the set of states that satisfy the formula F2. To that, it adds all the states that satisfy F1 and one of its successors is in Z. That's how I define this. Okay? That's how I define tau. Yeah. And the claim is that that is the least fixed point of this is exactly equal to E F1 union F2. Okay? I mean F1 until F2. That's the least fixed point of this tau. So I show this pictorially, okay? So we will see a proof. We may not be able to get to it this today. But so this is what is happening here, okay? As a Kleene iteration, I'm showing what's going on, okay? So you have F2. So when you apply, you start with bottom. When you apply to bottom, tau naught is bottom. So when you apply to, so tau 1 of bottom is F2 or F1 and EX of bottom, which is false. EX of false is false, okay? So, and therefore you get F2, okay? I've denoted this as S naught here, but it's actually tau 1. That's why it's tau 1. Tau 1 is F2. Tau 0 of bottom is bottom. And this is F2. And now I'm applying tau 2 as F2 or F1 and EX of S naught. So that's what tau 2 gives. And then you take the union. You take the union when you compute the, because the fixed point is the union of all these, of all these tau to the power of I. Okay, at each point, this is the formula that it is generating. Okay, because Ex of S naught will be the, there'll be an existential quantifier involving F2. And so you will have kind of repeated nested existential quantifiers here. Yeah. And that's how you do until you reach the fixed point. A formal proof that that indeed the least fixed point computes this set of states would involve using your semantics of CTL operators, the way it was defined. When I introduce CTL logic, you will have to use that to show, and then show that it is equal to this fixed point. Okay, so that's what the formal proof will. And tomorrow we will see a proof of this thing, so that so you can repeat that proof for other operators. So is this clear? Or is it confusing?
Yes.
A little bit confusing. Yes? Have I lost you all?
It's clear to me.
Okay. Now, tau for EG of P. So I claim, oh, somebody is waiting. I don't know how long he was waiting. I say that you cannot express EG of P as greatest fixed point. Can anyone guess why?
Sir, I was disconnected for a while.
Yeah,
So this is available on YouTube, right?
yeah, it should be. Yes. It will be, yes, one way or the other. I mean, I usually record it as well as, YouTube automatically records. And, just for backup, I also record it on Zoom. So YouTube recording is the one that I usually upload. Okay, unless something goes wrong, yes. Well, someone who was here and then saw this one. So I'm claiming here, I'm computing it as a, say, least fixed point operation involves adding things, okay, because you're taking the union. Whereas the greatest fixed point, usually it is computed as on a descending chain. And a descending chain usually takes away elements. Each time you apply tau, it gives you something smaller. Okay, so I'm claiming that EG of P has to, we need to express it as a greatest fixed point. The reason is, if you start, yeah, so how do you start, okay? Yeah, I mean, at least it's easy to see how it can be expressed as greatest fixed point. And of course, I don't have a formula for that can ever be expressed. Yeah, so if you start with, just like, one intuitive thing is you started with this F, okay? This, the set of states satisfying F here. But if you started with that, set of all states satisfying F, that will have both states that satisfy EG of F and also has states T that don't satisfy EG of F in one or more steps, correct? Because if you imagine, you look at this set of all states that satisfy F. So it can, although each set in there satisfies F, there could be states there which will get you out of F, since EG of P has to have all the all the states that on which F continuously holds. You will have, you can see that it can be defined as by repeatedly removing states that take you out of F in one or more steps till you reach a fixed point. So it is defined this way. Now it is something where, or in other words, you start with P and repeatedly you only keep those elements in P which, those states in P that satisfy P, and in the next state also go into some state within within C, and you keep doing this. So here you're taking the AND operation, and when you do AND, it constrains. Therefore, each time you apply tau, you're getting something smaller. Then you reaching a fixed point. So you will be doing computation on a descending chain. So you take the greatest fixed point. So as computation on Kleene chain, this is what is happening. So when you start with true, okay, which includes the set of all states. And you see when you apply P and EX of true, EX of true, so Z is first applied to true. True is tau naught. Tau 1 will be P and EX of true. EX of true is true, because every state, I mean, true includes everything. So EX of true could be every state in the universe. So P and true. So after one step, you get to P. And then in each step, what you do is, as I said, you keep those states in each iteration, those states which don't take you out. Okay? In other words, you're removing states that don't, from which every successor state is leading you out of the the current SI. Okay? In other words, here it is expressed as you keep things that have at least one of its successor going into the current state, and it removes these things. And that's how that you keep doing. And then you take the intersection of each point at each time, and until you reach a fixed point. So all these algorithms, as as I pointed out and someone else pointed out, requires a check for reaching the fixed point, which is an inclusion check. Okay, that you have to do. So that's what EG of P is. Yeah, I will only quickly sketch this, and we will go through this proof as well as Starsky's proof, just for completeness sake, in detail. So what you really have to show is, it will be instructive for you to do. So this proof for this one is in the book, and I've also repeated this as exercise, as an assignment. I'll give you a proof. I mean, I will ask you to do a proof of one of the other CTL operators that is not given in the book for instructive things. So it'll, I want you to pay some attention to this and then recreate the proof so that you get a good understanding of this basics. So what you have to really show is that this set is equal to the least fixed point as computed by Kleene iteration. So on the left side, the meaning of this square brackets, you have to rely on the first principle semantics of the CTL operators. Okay? So this involves showing two things, that this showing this equality, both of them are sets. Therefore, showing equality requires you to show that this set, I mean, that this side, okay, this least fixed point is the is the union, right? Because now we are computing the limit of ascending chain. Union of all the TIs is contained in EF1 union until F2, as well as this direction. So I didn't have the time to complete, type this thing in. I will have it ready. But this part is shown by induction, okay? So you will show, just like we showed the proof of this Kleene iteration, you have to show every I, for every I, and each of that is a subset of this right side. That you will do by induction. Okay? So I don't have the complete proof. And this side, once again, is by induction, but on the length of the prefix of the path under which F1 union F2 is satisfied for S. Because that's how the CTL operator semantics are defined. Okay? So I will go through this next time. But what I want to, and you can see that these are all the, I mean, all the operators can be expressed in this fashion. Okay? And you will see that things that require, yeah, I mean, so I will stop, I mean, I'll stop here. And of course, there is this portion of characterizing. I don't want to rush through the proof as well as talking about fairness. But what I want to do now in the rest of the thing is to something lighter. Okay, so I request to indulge your presence for 5 more minutes. Okay. Yeah, before some of you joined, I did go through this. I will upload this, okay? I'm going to keep this basically for this. So this is how I had given a very rough work distribution for the course. Now I think we are midway through the course, so it's time for stock taking, okay? Both in terms of what I wish to cover, so that's the detailed thing that I have here. And what I thought that would be good, for what I think would be a good set of tasks for the course. So you already have assignment 1, which you've submitted. And I think the solution for that, I'm asking Zubin to, he will be uploading it very soon and grading it. I want to, I'm insisting that he grade it so that you can get some feedback during the course itself, and that will happen soon. Assignment 2 will be on, this will be a written, there will be a written part and a programming part. So that will be, a written part will be just to get you warmed up on CTL, LTL, as logic, CTL star, it should be, fixed points, and the CTL model checking, which are covered, some basic stuff. And in the programming part, there will be a programming part which will be, in which you will be implementing very simple CTL model checker. So we'll actually be implementing these fixed point algorithms using not the SAT solver, but rather BDD package, which I will cover starting from in the next two classes. Okay? Because this existential quantification that you need in each step for performing the cleaning iteration that needs you to compute the image is better done as an operation on BDD, not as sending it to SAT solver. What would be interesting is to do it using QBF solver, okay? But nonetheless, I don't know how well that thing performs. That would be interesting, though. Maybe that I never thought of doing that. But anyway, I will be introducing BDDs, and there is a package that you will get introduced to. And the first programming assignment will be, it will go out here like this. I'm giving you this upfront so that you can plan your activities. I know this is not the only course you're taking, and there is a workload. So the sooner that you get to know what I have planned, it's the better. Then maybe you can give some feedback also. Now there will be a second. So I had told you that I plan to have either regular exams or one of the quizzes may be a programming assignment. See, this thing of doing, here you see two things here. Inductive model checking, there's a thing called K-induction, and IC3, and predicate abstraction. Most state-of-the-art cutting-edge model checkers of the present time use this thing called IC3 or predicate abstraction. So I want to cover that. And what I'm thinking is that you actually implement that. So I'm making no final exam kind of a thing because it's even harder to do that. So maybe only one quiz or two small quizzes just to keep you honest, and do this as a programming project on a SAT solver. Both these techniques use SAT solvers. I'll be covering the algorithm in class, the predicate abstraction as well as abstraction. You don't need to implement both of them, but my idea is for you to take one of them to implement, and you work in pairs on that. That will be an implementation using SAT solvers, and you have quizzes. So if I have two small quizzes, I'll give one maybe by end of October, and other by end of the term. Okay. So this is how I plan. Okay. Now take a look at this and programming. Okay. So how many of you have a problem if it was made programming? You see, this programming assignment will take 25%. I think a significant percent. Is that is one feedback that I want right away. Is that okay? You're all comfortable with programming, with APIs into SAT solvers, and
You can use any language, right?
you can use any language. I mean, but any language that has an API into Z3, which means it should be Python or C++, Java, or, I mean, it has, yeah, otherwise it will be, well, even otherwise you can do it by using thing, but it's preferable that you use one of the languages that have interface to that. API interface. Yeah, this is what I have in mind. Okay, so you could think about it and then give any this kind of, if you have some serious problem with any of the things and serious concerns, okay, come to me next time. So next time what I will do is I will go through the two proofs that I did not complete, and I will go through one example to illustrate this on actual real example. And after that, I will start talking about BDD. Okay, any questions? I know that I've gone way beyond the thing. So there are no questions. I'll end here and I'll see you tomorrow. And thank you very much for cooperating with the coming on an extra class. Thank you.